freshmen this morning. I think most of you answered me that you're elementary level, so if I talk and you need me to go upper level, tell me, and we can always alter any of the techniques to older. But I'm Deborah Curbo, and I'm the counselor at Baker for today. Okay, counselor at Baker, and I love it. I've been a Love and Logic trainer for a long time, 17 years. So Love and Logic is my passion. I've taught it anywhere from shelters to elementary schools to high schools to you name it, I've taught it. Love and Logic, I need you to know, is full of great techniques, but they won't all work for your family unit. Just know that when you see it. There's the best example I can give is one is for little kids, which we're not going to talk about toddlers today, but there's an uh-oh song, and the way they present it, it doesn't really fit with my morals and values because the way they block the door, that's not how my family were in agreement for that, so we have to kind of tweak that technique. So know some things you see, you think, oh, I don't think that really will work. Some ideas you want to use and some you want to tweak to whatever fits your game. Does that make sense? Okay. And I know I've been doing this a long time because we just hired for the very first time one of my students on my campus, and I told her to tell everybody we met in college. Really weird having a student teaching that on your campus. So we're going to, Jim and the Faye, it's a father and son who started this Love and Logic program. So we're going to be combining a few of their video clips. They're just really short. And then discussing those in details. At any time you have a question, you say, hey Deborah, how would you do this if this situation happened? Let me know. When I taught one parenting group, I noticed one mom was looking at me like I was crazy. And I said, what's the matter? She goes, well, you make it look so easy and your kids are probably perfect. I'm like, I mess up all the time. That's what's great about Love and Logic, because your kids are going to do it again because they're children and they're great at that. And so you have more opportunities to practice. So sometimes at my house, when something goes wrong, my husband and I will step back and say, okay, that didn't go so well. So what are we going to do the next time it's going to happen? Because they're going to perform for you. So reassurance. So we'll do a little bit of talking and a couple of short videos, but feel free to interrupt me at any time. And I am from East Texas. I talk really fast. So tell me how this is like.
I did this woman who came to the Rocky Mountain Conference one time. She's so excited. She runs up to me and she's going, Jim, you want to see my new tattoo? No, where is it? She says, on my finger. I looked at her finger. First joint of her first finger. Little smiley face. You see those Walmart ads. I said, what's that doing on your finger? She said, oh, anytime my kid accuses me of not loving him, I just whip it out and look at it. Reminds me to grin. Now, why do you grin when a kid is giving you a hard time? Terrorizes them. That's why. They say, oh no, the adult's grinning. This may not be the adult's problem. If it's not the adult's problem, it's bound to become my problem. Yeah. I know some of the most skillful parents and teachers, when kids give them a hard time, they just grin. And pretty soon, don't be laughing at me. Just being friendly. Just being friendly, yeah. But she had two more words on her finger. On this joint, she had the word nice, N-I-C-E. On this joint, she had the word try, T-R-Y. And she said, when my kid says I don't love him, I just whip it out and let's hear it, everybody. But let's see that big grin first. Oh, bigger yet. Let's see it. Nice try. Could you use that in a lot of situations? Let's try this one. Kid is coming home from school, and you're saying, where is your homework today? They don't give that anymore over at school, new policy. What's the answer? Nice try. How about, let's pretend we're teachers. Any teachers in the group? Yeah, great. Okay, good for you. Let's all pretend we're a teacher. And I'm a kid in the class. Well, shouldn't have to memorize all these facts. They're irrelevant because I'm gifted. Nice try. Let's be a teacher again. Where are your homework papers today? My parents wouldn't allow homework last night. They had responsibilities for me. Nice try. How about this one? You can't do nothing to me. I'm in special ed. I'm protected by federal legislation. Let's try.
So that is one of the techniques for love and logic that we're going to talk about. Sorry, so the rules of love and logic, and we're going to get into more of those sayings in just a minute. You're going to set the firm limits in a loving way without anger, lecture, or threats. My mom hates when I tell this story, but I remember when I don't really remember exactly what age, but my sister and I are 5 years apart. So I was maybe around six, and we were, I don't even tell you where. And my mom is one of those moms that doesn't say anything bad. She's always sweet. Always, you know, I was a kid. My mom will do it in class, so we had all kinds of games in our house, all kinds of volunteering that week. My sister and I were arguing, and I can't even tell you what we were arguing about, and my mom turns around and screams at me, "Joshua!" which was like a cuss word in my house. And to this day, I can't tell you any of those other details of what was going on, but that action. That's why they say anger and lecture or threats, they don't work. That's telling kids from the outside in, and they're not going to have an impact on that, and they're not going to correct behaviors. What I need kids to do is feel it from the inside out. So instead, my mom could have said, "I'll be more than happy to drive as soon as you girls stop arguing." Now, I've done this technique with my two boys. It's only taken me 2 times to do it. Now I can start the sentence and go real quick to stop arguing. There's 2 things you can do for sibling arguing, especially in the car. I can say, "I'll be more than happy to continue driving as soon as you boys stop arguing." And I pull over on a safe spot on the road. I've done this on a country road before, and it really scares them. And I'll pull over and I'll just wait, because I have all the time in the world. And when they're done, I say, "You really makes me nervous when you're arguing and I can't concentrate on driving." And as soon as they stop, I don't say a word, I just get back on the road. The other technique for that is if they start arguing, I say, "Oh, your time begins. For every time you argue, it's $1 per minute. I'll be more than happy to listen to you argue. I just need you to know it costs $1. But you have to follow through with everything I'm saying." So the first time I had to do that, they kept arguing for about 4 minutes. I didn't say a word, pulled in the driveway, went in, got their money out of their banks, and said, "Oh, I told you guys I didn't mind listening to you argue, it just costs money." So the next time we're driving and they start, I could just go ding, 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 and they're like, "No, stop talking," and they cut it out. Or I can say, "I'll be more than happy to," and they'll say, "I know, drive as soon as we stop," because I'll act like I'm pulling over, and they do not like to be in the dark somewhere on the side of the road. But I need kids to feel it from the inside out, so they change those behaviors. Plus, I always say, if you're more tired than your kids are at the end of the day, then things need to change in your household, because they should be more tired than you are. Another rule for love and logic is we're going to hold the child accountable for their problems and their actions. When your child goes off to school, we're not going to be there. So we need them to figure out how to problem solve on their own. I need an independent child, because if I have that, then I've done a great successful job. It's not easy, but when they're little, it's easier and safer for them to make mistakes than when they get older. Their mistakes when they're in elementary school have very few consequences versus when they're 18 and makes the same mistake. Just had a conversation with a student last week, and he's under the age of 10. If he had made that same remark or mistake at an older age, say in secondary, consequences could have been bigger. Could have been a ticket, could have been removal from school, all kinds of situations, and he had to understand that difference. I'd rather him learn now from the inside out than later on in life when consequences will follow him. So how I'm going to have a child hold accountable for their problem, I'm going to hand it back to them. If they come home and say, "Such and such was mean to me," you just kind of go, bummer. You got to pick one word and stick to it. One of my friends always says, "Oh, that's never good." I always say bummer. That's my go-to word. So if a kid comes up to me and says, "Mom, I had a really bad day," or "Dad, this person wasn't very nice to me at school," I say, "Oh, that's a real bummer. What are you going to do about it?" So instead of me saying, "Well, why don't you try to do this and this and this and this," I'm going to automatically hand it back to you. So what are you going to do about it? I'm going to wait. Because they have this sense about children do that they see this big red button on you and they want to push it and they're going to try. So you have to give it some wait time for them to answer that question. If a kid truly doesn't have any idea or ideas of what to do, you can say, you want to hear what other kids have told me works? Because really as adults, they don't want to listen to us because we don't really know anything. But they want to listen to other kids. I use it all the time in my office. Do you want to hear what other kids tell me works in class? Yeah. And then they'll come back 2 days later, that kid was right. I'm like, yeah, that kid was smart. So I always start when I have to give kids ideas. I start with the worst case scenario. Well, you can go choose to hit them upside the head or call them some bad names like they've been doing to you. How'd that work for you? Not very good. Or you could choose to maybe write them a letter if you don't want to talk to them yet. Or you could choose to talk to them and maybe at lunch or recess make a point to go find them. So I give at least 3 choices for kids to choose from. And I say, oh, let me know how that works out. And I'm not going to tell them which one to choose. You have to be prepared that I have had a couple kids choose the worst one, and then they're back in my office. Ms. Harbaugh, that did not work very well. Oh, wow, really? Well, what are you going to do now? Well, I guess I'll do this and this. Okay. So see, I'm still handing it right back to the child. That goes back to, I always tell kids, I'll be more than happy to argue with you, but my arguing time is at 6 in the morning or at 10 at night. But you know, if it's 10 at night, your bedtime still, your get-up time is still the same. Or I can argue with you at 6 in the morning. I had a student that said, okay, I'll see you at 6. I was there ready because and of course they didn't show up, but I was there ready because if they did, I wanted them to know that I would follow through with that. And in my classroom, I used to post an argument time on the wall. So then I literally would just point. So here's my argue time, remember? Or you can put a poster in your house and you can say, I really don't have time to argue, but such and such has all the time in the world. And kids will go to the wall and argue. Children are offered choices with limits. Everything we do with kids is you can either have this or this. If you're having a difficulty in a certain time of the day, that's what I would focus on. If it's bedtime, start there. Would you like to brush your teeth in my room or your bathroom? Do you want to brush your teeth now or do you want 5 more minutes? Do you want 2 blankets or 1 blanket? Do you want this stuffed animal or this stuffed animal? I can do choices on everything. And some suggestions that I give is write on, like the day you're thinking about it, take something to write with you. And everything that occurs that night, turn it into choices and the next day use it. When you're giving choices, if you tell a kid, do you want Coke or milk, you can't just, cross your fingers and hope they say no. You've already lost. So it's everything that you're okay with. Do you want milk or do you want orange juice for breakfast? I really don't know. Okay, well, how sad. Looks like I get to choose. You get milk. I don't want milk. Oh, maybe tomorrow you'll choose. That teaches kids to make decisions on their own and become self-confident in that. Think about it. If somebody calls you for dinner and they say, where do you want to go eat? What's your usual answer? I don't care. But in your head, you're like, oh, please, nowhere with Sly, nowhere with no Chick-fil-A, no Whataburger, but you don't speak up for yourself. So it's teaching kids to speak up to what they really want. And they will fight you on that, you just have to stick to it. You don't change it and say, okay, sweetheart, you can have orange juice. Maybe tomorrow you'll choose faster. The more choices you give, the more deposits you make into your bank account. So if I keep saying choices all day long, it comes bedtime and I say, hey, do you want 10 more minutes or are you ready for bed? But I've already looked at the clock and I'm still in a 15-minute range of bedtime. Kids don't know that. They just think you're like the dream of all because you just let them have 10 more minutes of cartoons or whatever. So do you want to go to bed now or do you want 10 more minutes? 10 more minutes. So 10 minutes go by and you say, oh, your 10 minutes is up. It's time to go to bed. Let's go. Do you want me to carry you or do you want to walk? Do you want to race me down the hall or do you want to walk down the hall? And kids aren't going to argue with you as much because you put all those choices into them and now it's time for you to make a withdrawal. So they usually will follow what you say because they've had that opportunity all day long to have the control. We want control as adults. Kids want control too, but we're going to control that, but they don't understand that. So with choices, I'm really the one in control, but they feel like they have the power. Enforceable statements. Every time we tell a kid something, we have to make sure we can follow through with it. You're grounded for life is not enforceable. Even though it always comes out at the tip of your tongue, you just want to say it. You're grounded for life. Even you're grounded for the weekend and you have 2 family obligations and you don't have a choice, they're going with you, that's not an enforceable punishment. That's not an enforceable consequence. And sometimes if you ground them for an extended amount of time or for something, it really punishes you more than your children. So you have to stop and think about what's enforceable. I cannot make my child be quiet unless I'd like to be on Fox 4. So telling them to sit down and be quiet unless I'm going to duct tape, I do not want to end up on the news. So really, that's not enforceable. But if I say, I'll be more than happy to take you to the park as soon as your chores are done, that's enforceable. It's not telling them they can't, it's just telling them when you're going to let it happen. I'll be more than happy to talk to you as soon as your voice sounds like mine. And that's when you sound like that, don't be stressed. That's enforceable. Feel free to go outside and play as soon as your homework is done. It's enforceable. Let's think of another. Anybody have a scenario they're thinking about? The feel free to is one of my favorite sayings, or you can do this, and then you can do this. I've never said, no, you can't go outside. I'm just telling you have to do this first. And real quick on chores. Chores in Love and Logic do not exist. They're called family contributions. You live in this household, we're a family, you do chores, which are called family contributions, because we're part of a team. It takes all of us to do those. In Love and Logic, there's no allowance for family contributions. What they do is they go off of, for instance, my kids, when I remember, which they tend to remind me quite often, the first of the month, they get $5. $5 to little ones is like $1,000 in our world, or more. So they get that every month. Then they have a list of family contributions. I have one son that's older, he has to feed the dogs, he has a little bit more family contributions, make the bed, change the sheets, all that. You don't get paid for that because you're part of the family. If you choose not to do it, if I choose not to mow my lawn, my HOA is going to hire somebody, come mow my yard, and then I have to pay them. Same thing in my household. If your bed doesn't get made, the dog doesn't get fed, and I have to do it, that took some of my energy, so I'm going to have to charge you for that, and that's what comes out of that monthly $5 that I give them. And they do not like that. But in the real world, if I don't do my job, somebody else is, and I have to pay for it. So that's how chores works with that too. That also helps with your enforceable statements and consequences too. Does that make sense? And I refer to them as family contributions. I use that word all the time. We're part of a family. How sad for you. But you know what you can do. If you want me to do it, I'll be more than happy to because I could use some Christmas money. So you let me know. Or I have that in my household. My kids now will say, hey, Colton, I'll pay you $1 if you go do that part for me. And that's fine. If you choose to use your money that way, use your money. I also use their monthly allowance to take away from behaviors. That goes to the arguing in the car, or if you just really drained my energy and I may need some money to go towards, like, I don't know, my nails being done, or just a shopping trip to Market Street without children, I might take some of your money because you really drained my energy. Delayed consequences. You do not have to give punishments to your children right when something happens. In fact, that's where the grounded for life usually comes into place, because that's the first thing you think of, because you're not in a place to talk about consequences. So delaying them actually is more punishment for children. So if my kid does something, here's how you know something needs a consequence. We'll back up. If the problem you created affects the entire family, it's a problem. If you're late to school, which makes me late to work, that's a problem, which needs a consequence. If you go to school in your pajamas because you didn't get up in time, but I'm still okay, your natural consequence is you're in school in pajamas. I had a kid last week that showed up in pajamas. I'm totally fine with that. I will back you up. So if it's a problem and it creates for the family, it needs a consequence. If it's something like you forgot your homework, well, last time I checked, I finished 5th grade, so I'm going to be okay. So it's not a problem to me. Natural consequence will be on my child. So when my kid does something that needs a consequence, I'll say, you know what, this is a real problem, and I'm going to have to think about what's going to happen next. And the key to this is you say, but you try not to worry about it. And I walk away. Because once I tell a kid not to worry about it, what are they automatically going to do? Worry about it. And I do this with students quite often. I had a student one time that I really needed to make a point with him because it was a mistake he made that he never made, but I also wanted him to learn early and not make it as an adult. He took something that he wasn't supposed to take. And so I told him, I said, you know what? I said, I'm really disappointed right now, and I can't really think through this. So I need you to go back to class. You don't worry about it. We'll talk about it later. That child was in my office every break he could get. And I said, I really haven't thought about it. The next morning, he was at my door, had his mom drop him off early so he could wait on me to ask what was going to happen. And by the time I got there the next morning, he said, Ms. Herba, I've been thinking about it, and this is what I'm going to do, this, and this, and this is who I owe apologies to. He had a letter ready. I didn't even do any consequences. He did it all to himself. So delaying a consequence, and also sometimes we need teamwork. There have been many times I've called my best friend and said, hey, this just went down in my house. What should I do? Because sometimes we need other people to kind of guide us and help us and step outside the picture of what's going on to give me what I call a reality check. Because sometimes what I think is big is not big. And so sometimes you need to talk to other people. So remember, this is a problem. I got to think about it. Try not to worry about it. And walk away. And you can set on that consequence for 2 to 3 days. It does not have to be a weekend. If you need to sit on it if it's something bigger, you can say the next day if they want to go somewhere, you can say, well, you know what, yesterday when you did such and such, it really wore me out, and I still haven't quite decided what we're going to do as a family. So I know you're supposed to go to this party, but I can't even drive. Like, I'm exhausted from your mistake. So try not to worry about it, but I'll let you know when I figure something out. And let it delay another day if you need to. And a lot of times kids will punish themselves harder than you will. The first thing is the lock and the empathy. That's what he was saying at the beginning about the words nice try, bummer. Make a connection with them first to let them know you're listening. So instead of just jumping in and solving their problem, listen to them first. That is so sad. Never say sorry because you're not really sorry for this yet because you're not owning it. But that is so sad. Tell me about that. And then they can clearly talk to you about it. Connect with your kids first. And sometimes when you do the empathetic response at first, there's something about it that just cuts off for a minute, and they might even back up and calm down just from that disconnect. Whereas before, if you say, are you serious? What happened? And then, woo, everybody's stirred. Okay, so lock in the empathy first. I always say, save your words for happy times. It's not happy, the fewer the words, the better. Anybody have questions about that?
I do.
Okay.
What about things that are like immediate, like hitting or kicking, or like I don't want to delay a consequence for things like that.
Right. So safety is not included in that. If you're running towards the street or you're hitting and doing something violent, for hitting, this is what I would do. Hands are not for hitting. Remove the one that's hitting and take them to the room. Separate them from the incident, and then I would say, come out when you're asleep.
Yeah.
And safety or anything like that's immediate. That's not a delayed consequence. Especially for the little ones, they need to know, but they need to separate. And for younger ones, the biggest punishment for them is grounding them or separating them from you. So if you can do that, even if you have 2 people at home and you can separate and put them in a room and you leave or go in your room, I've been known to go in my bathroom and lock the door and turn the radio up and act like I'm having a lot of fun without it. Or their favorite TV show, when my kids were real little, that was the best. Like if I went and got, it's been a long time, thank goodness, since some of those cartoons have been out of my life. But if I would have gotten some of their cartoons, locked my bedroom door and blasted their cartoon in my room, and be like, this is so great! And they're outside, they get really mad about it. But the key is come back when you're asleep. So when you take your kids a time out when they're younger, my whole point is not to make them do anything in their room, just to change behavior. So if they go in their room and after about 5 minutes you hear them playing, as long as they come out sweet, that's all that matters. If they come out and they continue the behavior, you say, looks like you're not ready to be sweet, and I go right back to the room. And the great thing is, stores have timeout areas too. Like Kohl's has bedroom sets. So I can walk all the way to the back of the bedroom set and sit you on your bed and stand there in the distance that I can still see you. It's a great thing about stores. And kids will think that. They'll think they can act up in stores because there isn't an area you can take them. The best situation, if there's two of you at the store, is one of you takes the child out, you leave, and you continue shopping, and you can even come home with like an ice cream or something. You'll be like, this shopping was the best day ever. See, that's how it makes parenting fun. It's a little kind of twisted.
How do we get the chores done? How about two simple little rules? Keep it as simple as possible. How about the first one? Starts with the word never. If you're going to write it down, write the word never, capital letters, underline it. One of the few times that we ever say never, absolutes. Okay? Never tell a kid to do the chores right now. Don't write that part. Okay. Teased you. Never say right now. Okay? That's a little easier. Never say do it now. Provide a deadline in the future, far enough in the future that you have plenty of time to figure out what you're going to do if he doesn't do it. Do you have any friends who say, do it now or else, and they don't have any idea what or else is? No. I want plenty of time to figure that out. Because if I tell a kid, you do this or I'm going to do that, will he engineer it in such a way that this doesn't fit anymore and I feel like a jerk doing it? That's how you know your kid's normal, right? Okay. So we've got a deadline in the future, far enough in advance I can figure out what to do if he doesn't do it. Rule number 2 is another never. Never remind. Today we said if you want your kids to listen, you say something once, and then something happens. And then if they say, but I didn't hear it, we say, how sad, I bet you'll listen better next time. There'll always be another time. Okay? And this is what's going to happen. Okay. So let's talk about some of those deadlines. Would this be a reasonable deadline? Can you have the dishwasher unloaded and all the trash out by the end of the day? Would that be reasonable? Sure. Would you like your boss to talk to you like that? One of the first core principles of love and logic is we will do whatever we can to maintain both the dignity of the adult and the dignity of the child. And if so, we'll get a lot less resentment from them. Okay? So, how about having it done by the end of the day? Next step, go to prayer. Pray that they forget. And have a real world learning opportunity coming up here. Give me the courage not to blow it by reminding. And then now the end of the day comes, and the child goes to bed. It's okay. By the time I get up there to lay down some sincere, genuine empathy, I want that kid to be in a deep, deep sleep. Oh, sweetie, this is such a bummer. What, Dad? I'm sleeping. Oh, this is so sad. What? I love, get them saying what, then you know you got them. Okay, what? Oh, the dishes are still in the dishwasher. The trash hasn't been taken out. Time to get it done. And you'll find out the kids who are sound asleep a lot easier to work with than the ones who are wide awake.
More, please.
And nothing will warm your heart more than to watch them staggering out at 11 o'clock at night in the dark. Hopefully it's raining a little bit or something, and taking care of the job. And are you being angry or sad for them? Which is it? Sad? Oh, yeah. I hate to do it in the dark. Oh, boy. But I'll watch and make sure everything's fine, okay? Might even help you with the dishwasher.
So that would be a case where I could see you doing that with older kids for the chores. In my house, I still do the time frame, and usually mine's not an all-day time frame because I like to get things done in my house. So I do, feel free to play as soon as you finish this, and this. Or I say, you know, this is your chores for Sunday. We have very specific stuff to do in the afternoon. Feel free to do this whenever you want, just know you can't play games until you complete this task. If they don't complete it at my house, that's when I take the money out of their accounts. And I just say, you know what, I had to do it for you, so don't worry about it. I just took the money out. I charged you $1, pretty cheap today, and the next time I may charge you $2. Or you could do it this way, I can see you doing this, like I said, with the older kids. And then they're gonna be tired the next day, but that's a natural consequence. So that's the kind of thing I told you, you have to kind of twist around what you agree with and how you want to tweak it in your house. The main thing is the remind part, and I will be honest, this has lacked in my house the past month because I found myself repeating myself. And when I reviewed this last week, I'm like, oh, I probably should keep reminding them because one day their boss isn't going to remind them to turn in their work for the day. If they don't, they're out. So I'd rather my kids learn now. So I started that again this weekend. I'm like, oh, how sad for you. I hope you figure it out. And then I walked away from it. It was really hard, but I can't keep repeating myself. And most of the time, kids are smart. They hear you. They just want to see how many times they think it's fun. How many times come up here and repeat back to me what they exactly said? Or they're hoping that maybe you change your way along your repeat back to them. And maybe they'll get more what they want. Is that big red button again? Anybody have questions about chores?
So what do you do, like, in the situation where you say you can't play until you've done this list of stuff that you know you're supposed to do? And then, like, 5 minutes later, they're playing and they're not doing it. I mean, you just,
I think you have to go back to holding the demand of nothing goes on. So if you have a kid that's playing with a certain toy, it looks like I'm gonna need to hold that toy for you until you complete your task, because it seems to be distracting.
but I mean, like, how is that, I mean, just to not do the reminding thing. It's like, you know,
Oh, so if they start to play
if
with
they,
them?
yeah, if they're like doing it and then they stop. I mean,
Well, then I would say, if you must have already done everything, that is so awesome. And then if I walk around and they haven't, that's what I would do immediately. Like take away something. But as soon as you say, oh, looks like you must have done such and such, probably guarantee you they're like, no, and put it down and maybe go do it. Depends on if you've already showed them the follow through. Cleaning the room is big for kids. Kids have a hard time when you say clean your room. That's a lot of areas. And if you're at my house, I'm not a very organized person, so learning for me is probably not the best. But I always give, the younger they are, the smaller the space. I need you to clean this area first. Then I'll give you another area. You need to clean this area next. So give them one step at a time. But for the older, I raised my youngest niece till she was in about 5th grade. And the best part of having, I have 2 boys. So the girl in my house was great because I could wear her earrings and her sunglasses and her clothes. And so if she didn't clean her room, I tell her, you have 1 hour to clean your room, but don't worry, if you don't get to it, I'll come clean it. But just know, when I clean it, I clean a little bit different than you do. And so if I had to go clean up her stuff, or if I've asked her to remove something from the kitchen and it's still sitting there, I start wearing it, like, and I'm loving it. Like her earrings, and she still talks about the time I took her favorite sunglasses and wore them for like a month. I go, I know, I love them. But either you pick it up, or I pick it up. You choose. If I pick it up, I'm wearing it and using it. I've been known to put on like Power Ranger stuff and wear it around the house or something because my kids didn't pick it up, and you just have to have fun with it too. They have to feel it. If they don't feel it, it's not going to have any kind of impact. I have also been known to say, you know what, your behavior tells me is that you have way too many toys to play with, and you can't really focus on what I've asked you to do. But don't worry, I'm going to take care of it. And those toys will either disappear or go on top of the refrigerator where you can see them, but you can't necessarily reach them until you start doing what you're supposed to do. So your misbehavior speaks out really loud to me that you've got way too much stuff around you. And I can help you with that, don't you worry about it. Does that help? The taking away money really is effective with most children because pennies hold big values too. So even if you do pennies and you take away pennies, that affects the loss. Any questions on that?
I'm sorry, I was late. So the
No, you're fine.
The money comes from just like initial allowance?
So we don't do allowance. If you do Love and Logic, it's called family contribution. So if I live in the household and I'm not paying my own bills, then I just do stuff around the house because I'm supposed to. We're a team. So I give a flat allowance every month. The first of the month, I only give them like $5. It's not even that much, but they will remember it. And then that's what I use if you don't do any of your family contributions, I take away, because in real life, if I don't do my job, somebody else has to, and I have to pay them to. So that's what I take away for arguing, I take away for, disrespect, or I take away for not turning in, like, we have to allow our kids some grace. So if we have a kid that forgets their homework and they call me and they've never called me before, that's not how a constitute parent. That's, your kid is genuine and hasn't ever done that before. I'm gonna take it up there. I'm not gonna punish you for that one, but if it's routine and every day you're calling me, I'm eventually just saying, how sad for you? Either you can pay me to bring it up, or you can just ask your teacher what you need to do about it. So I'm handing the problem back to them. So that's how you can kind of use that money. The arguing was a big piece that I took away from my boys a long time ago.
So it's interesting because some kids might treat that as, at least my 8-year-old, he's funny. He's actually pretty witty. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to charge you $2. That's right, that was my money anyways.
And they might.
And it's like, so if he earns something, we make him earn it, so that he knows it's a dependent of, now you're taking my money. Yeah, I am taking your money. Versus me just giving it to him and then trying to take it back. Because he'll say, oh, that's yours anyways. It doesn't matter.
Right, and you may have to twist some of that. But I'll tell you the magic about giving them the money ahead of time. When I go to Target, those trap aisles when you're checking out, that's what I call trap, because all kids want everything on those aisles right when you're checking out. And if my kid says, come on, can I have that candy bar? Or Mom, can I have these football cards? I'm like, oh, did you bring your wallet? No. Oh, well then how sad for you? Because that's the only way they get money. In my house is that allowance, so you can twist it either way. Yesterday, my oldest called and said, hey, Mom, will you get me an Xbox whatever card? And I said, okay, well, do you have money? Yep. So when I walked in, I go, okay, I need the card, so you give me the money. And it came out of his wallet, not my wallet. So I'm real big about that in stores. Bummer, if you don't have the money, you don't have the money. I'm big on that too. They want to go to the dollar store because they think that's like the lottery place, and they get, 50 toys for really cheap. And it breaks in 1 hour. That's a life lesson to me. You spent your own money on that. So how sad for you? I don't want to, because they're going to learn the value of that. If I find a car one day when I'm 16 that has a great radio and some really nice rims, but it doesn't really run, I'm going to teach them that from the dollar store toys. You can buy this because it looks awesome, and it looks like it's going to be great, and it's going to break in an hour. You have to feel that, not me. That makes sense? So you could twist it either way. And you have to know your personality. I have very opposite personalities in my household. So one of my children, that money is very valuable to him. The other one can see it that way. Well, you gave it to me, but as soon as he wants to buy something and I say, how sad you don't have money, then he feels it. Sure.
The reason that you're talking about the consequences after removal, I feel like I'm trapped. I feel like I'm trapped with my
So-
consequences sometimes because
I'll tell you a great story I learned from another Love and Logic. One of our really good friends, she's also a trainer. She has high schoolers. And one day he made a mistake at school. And so she picked him up, he was driving, and she said, the mistake you made kind of acts like you were about 3 or 4. So, don't worry about it, because I feel like I misled you somewhere, so I'm gonna go back to that and we're gonna start over. And he, thought she was crazy. And so it came that afternoon, he was supposed to go to football practice. She said, great, let's go. She said, when you're 3, I can't leave you by yourself. So I'm going to go with you. I'm going to send her for a run. And so she went, and, he was humiliated. He thought, well, that would be it. So the next morning, she said, I'm going to need your cell phone, because you don't need it at school, because 3-year-olds, they would go tell their teacher if they needed their mom. So you have access to the office if you need me, call me. And so he gave her the phone, and after school, she knew he had a party, and she got all dressed up. She's like, I am so ready for this party. And she's like, let's go. And he's like, I'm not going with you. She's like, oh, how sad, because you either go with me or you don't go at all. Because 3-year-olds have to have their mom, and eventually, he's like, I get your point, Mom. And so I was like, that's genius, I'm gonna remember that. Because like, you do have to kind of go backwards and kind of have fun with it, but prove a point at the same time. So she treated him how he was acting at the moment. I think that is huge for teenagers, is the friend piece. So yeah, let's go to the mall. What time are we going? I'll go with you. Because, you know, last week, when you lied to me, now I don't really know when I can trust you. So until I can trust you, we are going to have to follow you.
So we have problems with getting into the homework routine. Like my son would come home and he'd have his snack and 30 minutes to enjoy his free time. And then I would say, okay, it's time to start homework. And it was the remind thing, because he'd take his book and he'd be in the bathroom and he'd be sitting there waiting. And I'm like, finally I just said, you know what, you have this amount of time to get your homework done. You can do whatever you want, whatever, if you want to play with some Legos, whatever, but this is when the homework has to be done. So it was so relieving for me. I'm like, okay, I'm getting dinner done. I find myself not reminding. And the next day he's like, I'm really having a hard time sticking to things. Could you continue to remind me? I asked for a reminder. I'm like, you have to take this amount of time to get this done. And I could just do it. A time frame and really, kind of showing that he wasn't getting things done, but it was hard for me to watch.
Because in my opinion, it's much easier for us to save our kids up front or solve their problems for them than to let them solve it. Because it takes a lot longer and it's hard. And by the time you get home, you're tired. Like, I'll even tell my son's teachers, I'm just going to tell you up front, I'm the worst parent at homework. So just go ahead and get on to me, whatever we need to do, but I need to hand it back to my kids too, like you said. And some of our kids may need a little bit more help. Like I said, my kids are polar opposite. My oldest one, go and do his work, I don't have to do anything. My youngest one, I have to set some boundaries with. So you just have to know their personalities. But I think the more choices you give him and to front load that with deposits, the better. Do you want to do evens or odds? Do you want to snack first, or do you want to work 10 minutes and then get your homework done? Do you want a pencil or a pen? Do you want me to set the clock to help you remember for time, or do you not want the clock set? So then you're still handing it back to him for those control choices, and eventually you're going to be able to work away. Because then it's just going to create habits. Because eventually he should just set his timer himself. It's all about kind of like muscle memory. Once you build that muscle memory. But no, it's really hard. The hardest thing about parenting, I think, is watching them struggle. Because you think in my head, that's not what I'm supposed to do. And I always tell my children, I'm really sorry if you feel this way, but just know, if I mess you up now, I'll pay for therapy. But yeah, it is really hard to watch your kids struggle. Like watching them when they're sick, it's hard, you can't fix it. But I'd much rather them learn and be harder now than when they're 18, 19. I had a college roommate who would call her dad on everything. It would be like thundering like, should I go wash my car? I mean, she could make any decisions on her own. So, and to this day, she's a struggling adult. So I think of that situation when I hold my kids accountable. I'm like, keep doing it, it'll pay off in the end. More questions on that? This is energy savers, and I'll kind of give you some different ways to do this after he introduces it. Kind of giving you an overview of a lot of different things.
One more quick little thing. Start using it. Get to about 3, but definitely by the time they're 4. It's called the energy drain. Yeah, anytime your kid does something that is upsetting, have an energy drain, but act excited about it. So let me ask you, if a kid lies to you, does it drain your energy? How about if they whine at you? How about if they're clingy? How about if they break something? Anything fits, right? It's a generic consequence. So she started experimenting. Every time he would say the word, she'd say, "Oh, energy drain!" And then she'd say this, "How are you going to put the energy back in?" See, when you swear, say that word, it drains energy out of mama. See, that's the energy drain technique. You say, "Oh, energy drain." Then you go to the kid a little bit later on and say, "When you fill in the blank with a misbehavior, it really drains energy." How are you going to put it back in? Then you give them some options. Some kids decide to clean the toilets. Something about that just charges me up. Now some kids decide to hire Mabel for a night so I can go out with your dad. Boy, that, no, I don't like her. Doesn't she get around to that Mabel? Now some kids decide that they're going to go out in the yard and clean up all that dog food. How would that work for you? No. Well, then you put a time limit. If you haven't put my energy back in by such and such a time, I'll take care of it. And what does that mean? Well, sometimes you have to take a toy for payment. Right? Well, she's doing this, and she stumbles upon the whole idea of dusting, which is wonderful for little kids. He has this little sock over his hand, and he's dusting the house. It's his way of repaying energy for saying that word. She said the house looked great up to about here. But she said, I don't think it's working, because he's happy when he does it. Here's the great news. A kid can actually be happy when they're repaying your energy and it'll still work. Because why are they happy? Good about themselves. So here he is, he's toddling around, and pretty soon she notices that the word is she's not hearing it much anymore. Now my guess is that the chore wasn't really what made the word go away. What really made the word go away? Mom wasn't reacting the same way. Instead of saying, don't you say that, what she said, oh, energy drain, again, actually being excited about the problem. Well, it all worked pretty well. She wrote her letter until one day. I'm heading down I-70. I'm going to merge onto I-25 going south. Horrible traffic. This guy almost runs me off the road. It just slipped out. And being a psychologist, she said, I went into denial. I kept saying to myself, he couldn't have heard that word. His ears are too small to hear a word like that. She tilted the mirror down so she could see him in the back seat. There he is in his car seat at the center of the universe. And what does she see in that mirror? Oh, Mommy! Energy! What do you say to a little kid who nails you like that? You want to hear what she said? She just looked up that mirror and she said, well, honey, do you think an ice cream cone would put your energy back in? There he is in the back. I think I'm help. She doesn't.
So that's very true. When you use this a lot, your kids will use it back. I used to use it on my spouse quite often until he went with me. I was pregnant with my first son, and he decided to go with me because it was thunderstorming and he wanted to go with me. And as I'm teaching it, he literally is in the back of the class and he screams, "You do this to me all the time!" And I was like, oh, not anymore. I guess it's all right. So when my kids, like if I do something or say something, they'll repeat it back. When they were real little, I'd hear, uh-oh, Mommy. Because that's what we saw when we needed to take them to time out. And they would say the same thing to me. Or if I would say something incorrect and they knew I was wrong, because I always tell them when I am wrong, this, oh, Mommy, we love you way too much to argue. So it will come back on you, so you have to watch it. Energy savers are great because you can use it on any ages. I used to have to write a list, like all the stuff that I think could replace my energy, and I'd put it in the kitchen. So mopping, sweeping, laundry, whatever you want to do. And you can have very little energy for as long as you want. So if a kid says, Mom, I sweat, okay, well, I'm feeling a little bit better, but I'm still feeling a little bit down. So you can say, continue that on, or you can say, thank you very much. And you don't ever go back and reflect on the bad behavior because kids know what they did. They don't need reminders or lecture on what they did. They know they're smart. And sometimes I like to say, well, I don't really know what I did wrong. And I'll say, oh, well, you know what, you're pretty smart. And if you can't figure out what you did wrong, you let me know tomorrow. We'll talk about it. They don't. They're just trying to push that big red button. They know what they did. You can do energy savers if for instance, a kid is at some place for older kids and they're not supposed to be there, and you happen to go to the mall and they're supposed to be studying, and they happen to be shopping with their friends. So, you know, it really drained my energy last night, because first of all, I couldn't enjoy myself after I saw you at the mall with your friends. And then I worried about your safety, because if you did this time, what else would you be doing? So I really am down. Like, I have zero energy and trust in you. You're gonna have to earn that back. So I don't have the energy to drive you to practice. I don't have the energy to drive you to Target to get whatever you need. You can say that as much as you need to, because really it's true. And the Mabel person they're talking about, they call that the babysitter the kids don't want. And if the kids don't want that babysitter, and it happened to be a night that you just need a break, they have to pay the babysitter. And that's where that money comes. They could pay the babysitter out of that money too. Which really you would pay the big chunk of it, but they'd have to hand her $2 or whatever. But they call Mabel the babysitter that the kids do not want. They don't think are fun to play with. So that's the time you would use it, and they drain your energy. On the positive note for the energy savers, to reverse it, I love to do mystery motivators in my house. So if your kid has done great, it would be rate them, because rewards in life are rate them, right? I put little things in envelopes, non-materialistic. It can be like go to the park with me, read a book at night, whatever they are, in an envelope, and put like a surprise or question mark, put them somewhere in the house. If for some reason your kid does something amazing, just out of the blue, go, I'm feeling it, let's go pull an envelope. Just random, and go have them choose one, open it, and whatever's in there, that's what they receive. So it's more time with you than it is anything that costs you money. Kids love those mystery motivators. And they're very random, kids never know when they're gonna get one. So we have like a couple minutes left. I know I gave you a lot of the Love and Logic, a little bit of everything. Usually you can teach these in a 6 weeks class, and there'll be a lot in detail you can talk about, but does anybody have any specific questions or want me to clarify anything? Just remember, save your words for happy times. If your voice is getting lower and theirs is getting louder, you're winning. That's a huge one to remember. Because if they get louder and you get softer, they're going to get louder, because they're going to try to break you. Remember your big rhythm.
What do you do when your spouse is not in the same, like, not voluntarily, not in the same page, because they don't, always have the right consequences, or they give the wrong consequences, and you end up being the one always giving the consequences.
Right. I think you have to do the delayed and agree on that, so that you have time to talk about it. But when my niece lived with me, my sister and I are also different, and so my niece could know what rules were in one house versus the other, and vice versa. My sister had different rules than I did, so they eventually learned where to follow those rules. But I think you just have to hold, and eventually, when your husband sees that things are working, they usually will start going in that direction. My husband, if something happens, he'll be like, this did not go right, and we'll talk about it, because like I said, kids are going to do it again. That's the great thing about them. So then we talk about what we're going to do next time when we're ready. So it's kind of a team effort, because there's times that I'm really tired and I'm not saying the right things, and he'll say, got it. And then afterwards I'll go, where did that go wrong? How did that just happen? And we'll talk about it the next time we'll be ready. Yeah. And that's why the try not to worry about it works really well, because you have time to just process it and figure out what's best. Anybody else have any questions? I brought these. These are actually the manuals that go with the training, but there's some really great articles in here. So some of it's some activities that sometimes you'd have to hear the presentation, but I brought these. If you would like one, you're welcome.